What's up guys, welcome back to another video on the channel, and in today's video we're going to be going over what is the income statement, how do we read it, and how can we use it to determine whether we should be investing in a company or not. So there's three main statements that a company will publish during its earnings. It's the balance sheet, the cash flow statement, and the income statement. So obviously today we're going to be going over the income statement, but these are also both two important things that you should be looking out for when a company has its earnings. So in today's video, we're going to be using Apple as an example because I believe that their income statement is pretty easy to understand, and their business model is also pretty easy to understand compared to like a bank or something like that, right? So we're going to be using them as an example. So the first thing you want to do to pull up this information, you're going to want to search up investor relations. And then you're going to want to search up whatever company, right? You can do this for Microsoft, Google, Amazon, whatever you want, right? And they'll have a part on their website called Investor Relations, as you can see. So, or it'll be called Investor or something like that. You'll find it on every company's website that is, a publicly traded company. But you're going to want to look for where it says SEC filings, right? SEC filings, because every publicly traded company has to report their income, their balance sheet to the Security Exchange Commission. So you're going to want to go here, and then you're going to want to find, you can either look at the quarterly filings or the annual. I like to look at the annual, and you're going to want to find the 10K, right? There's the 10K and the 10Q, which this is for the quarterly report, and then this is for the annual. So we're going to want to look, and we're going to look at the November 1st. So for last year, 2024. And then you're going to want to go just pull up a PDF or something like that. So, all right. So now that we're here, let's zoom in. Sorry. So this might look a little complicated. As you can see, it's like, oh, what's going on here, right? So you're going to want to scroll down. You're going to want to find words like, oh, income or net sales or something like that. But here they have it pretty much set out for you. So it should say financial statements and supplementary data. This might be different for different companies, but you can request me and I can do another video for another company, but we can see financial statements and supplementary data. So, and it should start here. All right, perfect. So Apple. So you see words like net sales, cost of sale. Like this means you're in the right place. This is the income statement, right? But let's go over it because it definitely looks a little confusing and a lot at first, right? So let's go into it. So the first thing you're going to want to look at is these three things over here. So you see how it gives you September 24th, 2022, September 30th, 2023, September 28th, 2024. They're all different dates. This is just the different dates that Apple had ended their years, right? So what this means is from September 24th, 2022, this means from January 1st of 2022 till September 24th. That's just their year for Apple. That's what they consider to be their year. And that's how it is. That's how they consider it. So yeah, so September 30th, 2023, that's from January 1st to September 30th, 2023. So make sure though, this is very important that you see this. Before we get into the numbers, you're going to want to pay attention to this. It says in millions, right? So all these numbers right here where it says like, okay, products, right? So for this year, they sold, $294,000 worth of products. No, definitely, Apple's over $1 trillion worth company. They're definitely not doing almost $300,000 worth of sales, right? So this is 294,000 million, right? So basically that means it's a billion, right? So this is actually 294 billion, right? So that's very important to look at. At first when I looked at this, I was like, oh, maybe it's just 294 million. Like, no, this is billions. So, September 24th, 2022, 316 billion, right? 298 billion. So that's important to look at, unless it's otherwise stated that it's in thousands or something like this. All right, so let's get into each individual part of this statement. So first of all, net sales, right? This is broken up into two parts, as you can see. It's broken up into products and services. So what are products? I'm sure like think about the Apple headphones I'm wearing right now, Apple phones, iPads, all products that Apple sells that are physical products, right? So as you can see how much they're making each year. And services. So services, for example, I actually had to search this up, such as Apple One, Apple TV, Apple Music, Apple Arcade. So you see what this is their services. So, and then you can see over time, 78 billion, 85 billion, 90. So their services sales are actually going up, but their products actually seem to be going down. So that's something you can take note of. And then it gives you the net sales at the end of the day, but they are still making more since last year. They are still making more money in sales. So next we're going to get into is the cost of sales, right? So think about it. Obviously, you run a lemonade stand, you sell lemonade, but you have to pay for the lemons and the sugar and the stand, right? So you actually have to pay for the things that you sell. So let's look at, so it's broken up into their products and services, right, that they sell. So as you can see here, they're spending 200 billion in products in 2022 and 189 billion in 2023, and now 2024 185 billion. So as you can see right here, then it tells you the total cost of the sales. It adds it up for you. So yeah, in 2024, 210 billion, right? So, even though they had 391 billion in sales, they're still having to pay 210 billion in their costs. So then it tells you the margin, right? Margin is, after, you minus 391 minus the 210, you're left with 180 billion. So, all right, let's move on. So now we have the operating expenses, right? So you don't just have to pay for the, the things that you use to make the products or services, but you actually have to pay for operating expenses. So what do I mean by this? Think about it. First of all, research and development. You have to pay the people to conduct research or, think of new products like an Apple VR. Like people are actively researching, oh, how can I make this better? So, you kind of want to see, you do want to see this go up. People are like, oh, wow, why is the, like, you think about it, when the cost of your research and development is going up, that means you're obviously spending more money on research. So that is a good thing. That's a great point to look at. So as you can see, like 26 billion was used for research, 29 billion, 31 billion. So yeah, so that does look like a good sign for Apple. So selling and general administrative. So people usually get confused on this, but this is basically, as you can see here, I'll literally show you. So this is things like utilities, office supplies, rent, legal fees, accounting costs, commissions. There's also like salaries, right? Insurance. So this is all the things that, like, the nitty gritty that go into the company. So as you can see, 25 billion, 24 billion, 27. So it's not going up, like, it's staying pretty steady, right? And yeah, so total operating expenses, it tells you, it adds this up, 57 billion for let's say this is for 2024. And yeah, so it tells you at the end, yeah. All right, next. So now it tells you operating income, right? So it's telling you after you take, so once you go from the 391 billion minus the 180 billion, now minus our total operating expenses, right? From our research and our, paying people out, now we're left at 123 billion, right? So, all right, sounds good. Let's keep going. So other expenses, other income / expenses. This is basically like, for example, anything that's not specifically noted here in the income statement, it will be noted somewhere later, and like, all the writing and stuff in in other parts of the statement. But basically this is like, for example, if Apple invested in like a tech startup or something, right? It shows you. And if there's like parentheses, as you can see here, that actually means that they lost that money. So they lost 300 billion in 2022. They lost 500 billion in 2023. And in 2024, they actually made 269 billion. So that's good. All right, next. So income before provision of income taxes. So now it's basically telling you, all right, let's add our, our investment. And how much do we have? Now we have 123 billion, right? Our number from before. But now it's going to basically tell you provision for income taxes, right? So now we actually have to pay the taxes. So how much is Apple paying in taxes this year? 29 billion. Wow. Almost 30 billion. You think you pay a lot of taxes. These corporations are paying a ton in taxes. So after that, we're left with 93 billion. All right, so it's kind of fun to see where we came from. We came from 391 billion in sales and all the way down to 93 billion that Apple will be taking home this year. So, it's, people see these huge numbers like, oh, wow, they did almost 400 billion in sales, but realistically, you're only taking home 93 billion. which is still obviously a lot, but Apple's a huge company. But you gotta pay attention to certain things like this. So 2022, they only made almost 100 billion. Then we went to 96 billion. Now we're at 93 billion. So actually, seems like things are going down. Their net income has been going down. And other things you want to pay attention to that we were talking about earlier, such as the cost of sales, right? Like their products. So people usually think, oh wow, their costs their costs are going up, right? Like for example, their services. How come it went from 22 to 24 to 25? Like why are they paying more money? But you also have to think about it like this. If you have, for example, a lemonade stand, right? And you want to grow your business, how do you do that? You have to spend more on more lemons, more sugar, a bigger stand. You have to pay more people, right? So for just in general, your cost of sales, if you're looking at a company, if it is going up, that is normal, right? That's normal if a company is spending more, for example, on their research or on their salaries or, their products and services, right? If they're spending more, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that, maybe their business is growing, right? It's getting larger. But what you don't want to see is like a huge spike, right? For example, like this was 22 billion, they're paying for their services, to 24 billion to 25. So it's pretty steady, but like you don't want to see like 22 billion become like 40 billion, in 1 year. Like that's something they're spending way too much on, right? Like you don't want to see that. All right, so the last thing you're going to really want to pay attention to is the earnings per share, right? So this is basically how much is Apple really making per share that you're going to own, right? So for time's sake, we're going to want to focus more on the diluted EPS. So for example, in 2022, they were per share, they're basically making $6, right? You're dividing how much they're making by the amount of shares outstanding, right? How many shares are there currently available of Apple? So $6 per share, $6 to 13, $6.08. So you want to see this go up. For most companies, you're gonna want to see this go up and up and up, right? It's a good thing. It shows that they're making more per share. Also, if they add more shares, for example, a company says, "Oh, we're selling off more shares," that's bad for the earnings per share, right? Because it will just become a lower and lower number. But for example, if a company says, "Oh, we're gonna do share buybacks," that's a really important thing. If someone says we're doing share buybacks, that means that the earnings per share is going to go up, because think about it, there's a lower denominator. So yeah, so as you can see, Apple went from $6.11 to $6.13 to $6.08. So it's pretty steady. Seems pretty steady, not too much growth. But yeah, you're gonna see for different companies, for example, like a growth stock, right? You're gonna see big earnings per share growth, or going from negative to positive, right? If it's like more of a startup company. So that's about it for the income statement. If you have any other questions, leave it in the comments. If you want me to do another company's income statement and show you how to get to it, let me know. I'll show you. But basically, it's the same thing. You're going to want to search up, for example, like Google, right? Search up investor relations for Google. You'll find it on their website. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you. Bye.